Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk about why I think Ford will not put a 2.7, 3.0 or 3.5 EcoBoost in the Mustang. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is because there's a lot of people that think like when they see the 2.3 race something and it loses or something like that, they'll be like, oh, Ford should put the 2.7 or Ford should put the 3.5 in there. I did a lot of research for this video, so I hope you guys do enjoy it. Please like it if you do. I'm going to compare the 2.3 that's currently in the EcoBoost versus the 2.7 versus the 3 liter versus the 3.5, and the pros and cons to each engine, the power outputs that it could possibly make, and why I personally think that they will never do something like that. So let's first start off with the 2.7. So the 2.7 is a twin turbo V6 that Ford puts in like the Edge ST, some of the Lincoln products, the F-150. The 2.7 weighs about 74 to 130 pounds less than the 5.0, at least in the F-150s it does. So we can assume that it will be somewhere in the middle between the weight of the 2.3 and the weight of the 5.0 in the Mustang. So it would probably be around like 36-50 pounds, I'd assume. I'll go over some pros first. So it still gets pretty decent fuel economy. In the F-150s, it's the best fuel economy engine you can get aside from the diesel, but obviously that doesn't, we're not talking about diesels. Power numbers can range anywhere from 335 horsepower to 360. It can easily be tuned up to 360 or 370. I think the 360 would be a good middle of the road mark if they want to make like a Mustang that's in between a EcoBoost and a GT. That's if they kept the 2.3. And another benefit to this engine is that it has a better power band than the current EcoBoost Mustang. So the current EcoBoost has crazy torque, like right at like 3,000 or 2,500 RPM, and then it drops down drastically, and then the horsepower goes up to about 5,500, then drastically drops off too. And from the research I've done, the 2.7 does not have that bad of a power dip or that bad of a peak power and then immediate drop. So it's more of a smooth power band, so that is another benefit. It's proven to be pretty reliable in the F-150. There's a lot of people that say that the 2.7 is more reliable than the 3.5. So that gives me hope that maybe if it was in a Mustang that it would be a reliable engine. There's one downside, and that is the added weight. So it will make the Mustang heavier, and part of the reason why people like the EcoBoost is because it's lighter than the GT, so it handles better and stuff like that. So if it was heavier, then you might need to have bigger brakes, which adds more weight. So that's basically the downside, is that it's just heavier than the 2.3. So next I want to talk about the 3 liter V6 that you can get in some Lincoln products and the Explorer ST, stuff like that. That's another great engine. It's similar to the 2.7. It makes more power, so it can actually make up to 400 horsepower. So it's a great engine. The downside, again, it will add more weight to the Mustang lineup, or I should say it will add more weight to a base Mustang. So that's another reason why that one is probably not in the cards either. And then also it's kind of similar to 5.0 torque numbers and stuff like that, and Ford doesn't want an EcoBoost or like a base Mustang to be close to 5.0 numbers. At least I don't think they would want that. Next up, let's talk about the 3.5. So the 3.5 is the most commonly known Ford EcoBoost engine as far as like the engines that put out good power. That's the first one that they came out with in 2011 or whatever in the F-150. They've been making it for a long time. It makes crazy power in the Ford GT. It makes really good power in the Raptors, 450 horsepower. It makes like 510 pound-feet of torque in the Raptors. That engine actually weighs more than a 5.0. So in the F-150s, the 3.5, just a regular one, not the Power Boost, weighs about 35 to 40 pounds more than the 5.0. And again, this depends a lot on trim and all that stuff, but the point is that it's heavier than the 5.0. So why would you want to put an engine in the Mustang that's heavier than the V8 engine? And the V8 engine is the one that most people want in the Mustang. That engine can put out anywhere between 365, like a more moderately tuned one, or it can put out 450 horsepower, like I said in the Raptor, anywhere between 420 to 510 pound-feet of torque. People that get the EcoBoost, one of the benefits is that you get much better fuel economy than you do in the 5.0. If they put a 3.5 in here, then it will be it actually gets the same, if not worse, fuel economy than the 5.0. Like maybe if you're cruising on the highway, it might get the same, but in the F-150s, the 5.0 and 3.5 are pretty much the same as far as fuel economy is concerned. So you have no fuel economy benefits, you have no weight savings benefits. If anything, it gets worse. All those reasons combined make sense as to why Ford does not put that engine in there. The only engine, in my opinion, that would make sense would be the 2.7. But the 2.7, even though it can be tuned to have a lot of power, at least in the current application, doesn't make that much more horsepower than the EcoBoost Mustang. So what I want Ford to do is keep the EcoBoost, although a 2.7 would be nice. I would gladly like to test that out. But what I want Ford to do is keep the 2.3 EcoBoost. I want them to smoothen out the power band, so give it a bigger turbo, have a better power band to where all the power isn't low end and then it gets really flat up top. Because that was one thing I really hated about my EcoBoost, is that, I mean, it just takes off so fast. Like, it can take off from a lot of cars, like from a dig, but it just doesn't have that top end power. It just feels kind of flat up top. And you can even watch videos online of like an Accord Sport 2.0 versus the EcoBoost Mustang, and the Accord will be like right there with the EcoBoost on the top end, just because the EcoBoost falls on its face so much up top. So I really want them to improve the power band and the way the power comes on, and have it be more smooth towards the red line, kind of like the High Performance. But the only disadvantage is that the 4-cylinder sound, and still people can't get over the 4-cylinder in a Mustang thing. So that's the only disadvantage. So people would probably rather have a 6-cylinder than a 4-cylinder in a Mustang. I honestly think that if Ford made the 2.3 have a good power band and have around 335 to 340 horsepower, that would be perfect. And then, like I said, it would be kind of cool if they had like a middle of the road version, or replace the current High Performance for a EcoBoost that includes the same stuff but the 2.7 instead. That'd be kind of a cool setup. But for the base engine, I think it's smart for them to keep the 2.3. Just as long as they make those improvements that I talked about, I feel like it'd be a really, really good base engine. And one thing I forgot to mention is that I hope that Ford makes the 2.3 in the future actually make 310 horsepower. Because every time you see an EcoBoost on the dyno, they're always ranging between like 240 to 260 on the high side. And that does not scream 310 horsepower. So I want them to actually make it have a realistic 310 horsepower, because in my personal opinion, I think that the EcoBoost makes about 285. Or it might make 300 on a perfect day, no altitude, 93 octane, 40 degrees, you know, then it might make 310 horsepower. So I want them to have a realistic 310 horsepower. Let me know if you guys agree, if you guys have an EcoBoost. Does it feel like 310 horsepower to you? Because I can feel the torque, but I don't know about the horsepower. But definitely let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think I gave some valid reasons as to why Ford will probably not put those engines in the Mustang? I want to hear you guys' thoughts. What engine would you like to see in a Mustang? And actually, while you guys are here, if you guys are still here, let's pass this Expedition real quick. It pulls hard. By the way, if you guys didn't know, like if you guys are new to the channel, this is my 2020 Mustang GT 10-speed with a Borla exhaust. That's all I have so far. But if you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.